Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're doing a mock draft. This is going to be no trades. Starting off with the Chicago Bears. If there's no trades, which, I mean, they're obviously going to trade out number one, but if there's no trades, I think this pick has to be pretty straightforward, especially with the Jalen Carter legal situation. It's Will Anderson. You get their star on the D-line. You're not going to take a quarterback. You're going to roll with Justin Fields. Moving on. The Texans, they'll take Bryce Young. And I think he's a scheme fit. There's other guys that may be a bit of a better fit. But he's the best player available. I think they'll see that. I think they'll draft him. The nice young core for DeMeco Ryans. Moving on to number 3, the Cardinals. They're in a bit of a rough situation to not be able to trade. I'm sure they'd love to trade out of this. But with the Jalen Carter legal situation, I can't imagine they go that way. So I'm going to go with Tyree Wilson. This is very early for him. For a lot of people. I mean, it's not that early for me. He's very high on my board. I'm a big fan of his. But it is a lot higher than most people would expect him to go. But I don't mind it, honestly. Moving on to the Colts. I could see them going any way, any direction here, any quarterback. They're not going to pick any other position, but I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. Honestly, the way Irsay said he wanted the quarterback from Alabama, it kind of makes me think he doesn't, which leads me to believe either CJ or Anthony Richardson. I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson because he's the physically talented freak. Irsay might want him. And now the Seahawks are another team who are in kind of a poor situation. But a guy who I like, who people have started to not like, Myles Murphy, I still think he's a top 5 player. And I think that's an absolutely valid pick there. Seattle gets a really good pass rusher and a great run stopper. And they finally add to that D-line. Uchenna Nwosu was solid last year, but you need someone else. I'm sure they would like to take Jalen Carter, but it's a little early for him with his legal situation. The Lions, I really like going corner here. It's always between... I personally like Joey Porter a little more than Gonzalez, but I think Gonzalez fits a little better. I think he's that athletic player who Dan Campbell might like to go after. So that's one of my early favorite picks, is Christian Gonzalez at 6 to the Lions. Now the Raiders are on the board. I'm sure they'd love to go Jalen Carter because they like taking people with legal situations, but they're going to go with CJ Stroud. They're not going to be on the clock for that long. They'll hand in their card. They'll take CJ, and they'll be ecstatic about it. I don't think there's any way he falls to 7 in real life, but without trades, it's certainly possible. Now the Falcons are on the board. A lot of the guys they want are probably gone here. And I'm not completely sure which direction I would go if I was them. I could see offensive line. I doubt they go corner at this point. I'm going to go with a pick a bit out of the blue with Brian Brzee. They get a really nice defensive tackle. Brzee is still a top 10 player on my board. I'm a big fan of his. I think 8 is right around the value he should be going at. But they add depth, they add talent to that D-line that really doesn't have any talent outside of Arnold Ebiketie. And Carolina's on the board. They're going to take Will Levis. They're not even going to consider anything else. Philadelphia. There's a lot of directions I like to go with this pick. I don't think they go receiver. I know a lot of people like drafting Bijan to them here, but I doubt he I don't think he's going to go that early because I really like the talent at running back. This is great depth. All four of these players have, well, 3 of those 4 have first-round grades. I think I have 5 total running backs with first-round grades. It's a ridiculous class. Obviously, Bijan is graded fairly higher than all the rest, but still. With the 10th pick, Philadelphia, I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to go with Brian Branch. I just kind of... They get that slot corner to replace C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who it seems like they're going to let walk. And I think he's a really solid player to replace him. He could play safety or slot corner. Tennessee is on the board. And Tennessee loves to take the talented players that are falling for injuries or legal concerns. They don't need a defensive tackle, though. I'm sure they'd love to take him. But I don't think they can. They just lack talent in so many places. I think they have to go after O-line. I'm going to go with Paris Johnson here. They get a replacement for Taylor Lewan, a really good left tackle. Houston is one of those teams where they don't have a lot of talent. They just took Bryce Young, and I think even though they'd love to get some talent at wide receiver, I think this is a good place for them to take a flyer on crazy talent with high risk with the legal situation. New York. They could be picking here even if they trade for Rodgers. It seems like there's a solid chance that that trade doesn't involve the 13th overall pick. So if they're here, I could see them going in a couple different directions. But I'm going to go with offensive line. I'm going to get Peter Skoronski. I think because he can play tackle and guard, they add talent to that offensive line. It's a pretty talented offensive line already. People don't really give it credit because they didn't really play up to what they could be. But they add some more talent to the line. He'll be a starter, I'm sure, at either guard or tackle. New England is on the board. This is an interesting spot. And I do like going edge here. There's a lot of talent on the board. I'm going to go with Nolan Smith, the athletic guy. I think it makes a lot of sense. I do kind of like Lucas Van Ness there a little more because he's just kind of giant and super fast and a ridiculous athlete that Belichick can mold, but I'll go with Nolan Smith, change it up. Amazing combine. He really made a name for himself. He's a bit thinner, but he's still a capable run defender as well as an incredibly talented pass rusher. I thought he was like way too low on most people's boards, and then he showed out at the combine, and now, he's a first-round player now. Which, I mean, the athleticism shows out on tape. He's incredibly athletic, 4.39 speed, and he plays with it too. Green Bay on the board here. I'm going to keep this pretty simple. I'm going to go Jordan Addison. I think it's a good fit. You know, if Jordan Love's your starter, you add a really talented receiver who can be an immediate volume receiver. You put him in the slot with Watson on the outside and whoever on the outside and the other side, maybe Dobbs, maybe a free agent, whoever. Washington on the board. They really need offensive line. I think they might go tackle. Charles Leno he's getting up there in age. Is he a free agent after this year? So Charles Leno's not going to be a free agent. He's under contract for 2 more years. But he's 31. He played well. But he's gonna need to be replaced eventually. Sam Cosmi he's talented. But I'm not sure if Sam Cosby would beat out Anton Harrison right away. Because Anton Harrison is my highest grade tackle in the class. I like Paris Johnson a little more, but I gave Anton Harrison a higher grade. I think he's really pro-ready, and he also offers upside. And Washington could just use the talent on the offensive line. They'd use talent anywhere, but they'll take it on the offensive line. Pittsburgh's going to turn in their card super fast, take Devin Witherspoon. I know he's small, but he is so physical. I'm sure Mike Tomlin would absolutely love him. That's just great value for them. They would love that pick. I'm not a huge fan of Pittsburgh, but I love that pick for them already. Detroit is on the board. They already went with Christian Gonzalez. They're not going to go corner again, even though there's talent. But I could see them surprising some people here with a defensive line pick. And I know most people would say, Kalijah Kancey. But honestly, I don't know if that's who they'd go for. I think Keanu Benton is kind of solid value. I gave him a first-round grade. He's got like a great mix of production, size, and athleticism. I have no idea why he's projected in the 3rd round here. But this is really nice value for them. He can be a nose tackle who can also pass rush. But he's a lot more effective in the run game than Kalijah Kancey. He's a lot bigger. And, he's not as athletic. He's probably not going to be as good a pass rusher. But he's not anywhere near far enough behind Kancey to warrant taking Kancey first. At pick 19, Tampa Bay, this is going to be interesting. I have no idea what direction they're going to go in this draft. They kind of lack talent all of a sudden. They did just cut a starting left tackle. Yeah, I'm going to go with Broderick Jones to replace Donovan Smith. I'm not sure if he would start at left tackle. They might move Wirfs over to left tackle, but Broderick Jones is maybe the most athletic tackle in the class. I don't think he's as pro-ready as the guys that went before him, but honestly, Tampa Bay is young. They're rebuilding. Adding talent like him is not a bad move. Now, Seattle's on the clock. They went edge early. I think they will gladly take O'Cyrus Torrence here at 20. Very talented. He's a talented player. He has great strength. I'm not as high on him as some people are, but I see what people like about him. He's very aggressive in the run game. He's a capable... he's a good run blocker. He's capable with his athleticism, even though it's a little underwhelming for a first-round offensive lineman. But he is playing guard. And I think this is good value for Seattle. At 21, the Chargers are on the board. There's a lot of talent at wide receiver. And I could see them going after a speedy receiver. But with the depth of this class, I think they're going to wait till the 2nd round. So in the first, they could go a couple different directions. I might be talking myself into wide receiver. I don't know. I do like DeJuan Jones. I do like Matthew Bergeron. I don't know about this early, though. Maybe at the back end of the 1st round, but I'm thinking receiver. And, I think the common pair-up is Zay Flowers or Jalen Hyatt because of the speed, but Quentin Johnston's available. Quentin Johnston's very fast. And adding a guy who can make contested catches as well as... Quentin Johnston, that Chargers offense would be great. My big issue with him is his run blocking, and the Chargers really don't run it that often. Their running back is a slot receiver. Baltimore is on the board, and they're going to gladly take Jackson Smith-Njigba without hesitation. They're hoping to get Lamar back for $32 million. That would be great value. Or match any other offers. They're hoping to not have to pay him fully guaranteed money. But even if they don't get him back, they need receivers. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a very talented receiver. That's just a necessary move. I doubt they're on the clock that long. Speaking of teams not being on the clock that long, Minnesota sees Joey Porter on the board, and they are very happy. They need talent at corner, and Joey Porter is absolutely talent. He's an immediate impact starter, especially in that Vikings secondary, and that really improves their team. Jacksonville is on the board. I'm not a fan of their secondary. They need talent. And after cutting Shaquille Griffin, I think that means going corner, even though their safeties aren't great. Now, I like Keely Ringo, I like Clark Phillips, but I think in the spirit of the combine, I'm going to go after Deonte Banks. All in all, his tape was pretty good. My main complaint with his tape was athleticism didn't show, and then he went to the combine and showed how athletic he could be. I think with good coaching, he can be a great player. I think he's rising up draft boards. He could be a first-round pick. New York is on the board. I compare Zay Flowers to Kadarius Toney. And a part of me thinks they would never want to draft a guy in the Kadarius Toney mold again, but another part of me thinks they're going to fall in love with Zay Flowers. And I'm a big fan of that fit at 25. Dallas on the board at 26. All the top receivers are gone. Even though, I like both these two. I gave them both first-round grades, but I don't see either of them actually going in the first round. Now, Dallas could go after a guy like Kalaji Kancey, but I think they'd rather have a run stuffer, like maybe Mozzie Smith, but I doubt they go, because there's a lot of talented run stuffers late in the draft and high upside defensive tackles. So I doubt they go defensive tackle early. I think they wait. I think they go corner though. Now Cam Smith and Keely Ringo, I believe, have the same grade on my board. I'm going to go with Keely Ringo. I think they're going to draft on talent, and I think it's fair to. I think Keely Ringo is getting really underrated because he had bad games like this. But he offers upside. He showed what he can do. He has ball skills and athleticism, so I say just take a shot at him, see what happens. Buffalo's on the board. Is this where Bijan goes? I mean, I like Osiris Torrance here at 27. If he's off the board, I don't mind it. I think Bijan at 27, I mean, obviously for his talent, that's great value, but I think it's fair to go running back in the first round if you don't have that starting guard on the board. Cincinnati here. They're an interesting team because I don't know if they're going to cut La'el Collins, but it kind of seems like they might. I think they could use a tackle. I really like DeJuan Jones. I mean, I'm sure they'd love Kalaji Kancey, but I'm going with DeJuan Jones. New Orleans. I want to give them an edge rusher really bad. There's a lot of guys I like here, including just a quick shout out to Isaiah McGuire, who I think is very underrated. But Felix Onyedike Uzoma, I think he's one of the most complete edge rushers in the draft. Obviously, you get more upside with guys like this, but maybe New Orleans wants to be competitive this year. They get Felix opposite of Cameron Jordan. Help out Derek Carr's defense. You probably win the division, so you might as well try to compete immediately. So I'm going to go with Felix over the more athletic guys. He is really athletic. He offers a lot of upside. I'm just talking about 6'5", 4-5 speed edge rushers like him, or Will McDonald, who's maybe a more ridiculous athlete. And then Philadelphia's on the board. Who did they take? Brian Branch. So they deal with safety. They had a lot of defensive linemen on one-year deals. Fletcher Cox is a free agent. I'm going to go with Clyde Cansey here. You get the athletic guy on the inside, the future Aaron Donald that some people think he'll be. Even though I'm not as high on him as others, I don't mind that. A really good pass rushing interior defensive lineman. And now the Chiefs are on the board. And a pick that I weirdly really like doing with the Chiefs is going tight end. I'm going to go with Michael Mayer here. You know, you see them using two tight ends constantly. They used Blake Bell last year. Michael Mayer, I mean, he'll block well. He'll be a solid receiver. And then you can use Travis Kelce as like a blocking receiver, which, I mean, he's developed into a really nice blocker, but that might be a more natural role for him. You would have Michael Mayer and Kelce on the field at the same time constantly, and I think that's just dynamic. But anyways, here's my 2023 NFL mock draft. Like and subscribe.